Hey guys,
Hello.
we're Jake, Vanessa, and Kinley Johnson, and we are career missionaries headed to Botswana, Africa. And we're so excited to be able to have this opportunity to share a little bit about who we are, God's calling on our life, and what we'll be doing in Botswana, Africa.
Yeah, so my calling probably started about 4.5 years ago. Grew up with 5 other siblings who knew exactly what they wanted to do, and I always felt like the oddball who had no clue what she wanted to do. The only thing I knew I was passionate about was ministry, so I helped in my church from kids ministry to youth, and then I was an intern underneath my pastor there. And God, in that internship, took me to Haiti and totally wrecked me. And what a completely overwhelming moment for me to realize what my calling was. And he actually reminded me of a moment at the altar at camp of placing Africa on my heart. And over the years, I kind of just let Satan take that away from me. But happy to say I'm finally pursuing that calling that God has on my life.
And honestly, my calling started a little bit differently. I remember as a little guy, my mom reminded me and telling me that I had always said I wanted to be a missionary. You know, what does that mean to a 10-year-old? I'm not sure. But as God radically transformed my life at teen camp, I really had a passion to serve in ministry and to serve in missions. And so I had the opportunity to go on a few trips and also had a confirmation at a youth conference. And a few years later, I actually had a dream of this outline of this country in Africa, and it was confirmed by a meeting I had with a missionary. And so along these steps, I began to realize that this was the place that God was drawing my life to. And so I got to serve as what's called a missionary associate for about a year in Botswana. And during that time, I got to see all sorts of different things. I got to experience life in Africa. But there's one particular story that really stood out to me, and it's about a man named Mohomotsi. Now, Mohomotsi's job was basically to clean different properties and compounds around Botswana. One day I had the opportunity to give him a ride home, and you know, in conversation I just brought up, hey, do you ever dream of going to the United States or maybe visiting another country in Africa or maybe even a park in your own country? And I remember this man bearing the image of God, looking me in the eyes and saying, that'll never be for Mohomotsi. That'll never be Mohomotsi's story. And in that moment I realized Mohomotsi and so many other people who live in extreme poverty live without hope. That they live without ever having the idea of escaping the situation they find themselves in. And you may ask, what does that have to do with campus ministry? What does that have to do with what we're doing? But the reality is that most of these students that go to the university are going looking for hope. They're looking for the education to get the job, to get them out of the situation that they find themselves in. But we as believers have realized and understand that even if we have a lot of money, even if we have a ton of power or we have a lot of sway, we recognize that there's something missing inside of all of us until we encounter the love of Jesus Christ. And so quite literally, these students are going to the university looking for hope. And they're looking for it in their education, in their jobs. And we don't want to diminish those things, but we believe the ultimate hope is found in the kingdom of Jesus Christ and in his lordship over our lives. And so we want to see students encounter true hope in encountering Jesus. And that's what we're all about. That's what we believe is so important to this ministry. And ultimately, we believe that we can't change Botswana on our own. That it's not about us showing up and being some superheroes. But we believe that if these students can get empowered and equipped by the gospel of Jesus Christ, that they can change their country. That as they go to their different villages and homes and different vocations, that they can lead the charge. That they can be gospel bearers wherever they go and wherever they might be leading. And so we believe that through this student movement, Botswana can be transformed. And so quite literally, we cannot do this without you. That missions and partnering for our ministry is how we survive and thrive. And so we need supporters and churches just like you who are willing to back us up. And so we just want to give you a few options or a few opportunities on how you can do that.
First, we covet your prayers. Obviously, prayer moves the hand of God and breaks down strongholds that we could not, and just backs us up. And so we covet your prayers and to help us move the spiritual realm and on God's behalf and to do exactly what God has called us to do. We need your prayers.
For sure. We can't do it without your prayers. And also, one of the ways is you can partner with our ministry. And so thankfully, at the time of making this video, we were actually close to over 80% of our monthly budget. So we're getting really, really close. We're excited. And our goal is to hopefully leave by July, barring any coronavirus issues. But we really need other people willing to financially partner with us. And what that might look like is in the Assemblies of God, we have what's called a faith promise. And so essentially what this is churches and individuals send out a certain amount a month that they're willing to pledge to our ministry. And so we will provide a link at the end of this video that you can check that out if that's something you're interested in. But otherwise, guys, we are so grateful for all the partners, all the people who have invested in prayer and money and time into our ministry. And we just want to say a big thank you for hearing our hearts this morning. See you guys.
Bye.